Hey guys, so I decided I'm gonna start making a video series on, kind of my awakening journey and how I basically stepped into this work and, you know, my own journey of self-discovery, because each of us have a different way of hey, I found my path this way. Hey, I found my path that way. Excuse me. But today I want to talk a little bit about this book. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This was the first self-help book that I ever read, and it really changed my entire perspective on how life works and my fixed image of myself, and how, we get this idea of who we are. Like at the time when I read this, I was probably 19. I had just moved out, and I stumbled upon this book. I can't even tell you how I stumbled upon it, but it was fascinating to me. So this book is all about this plastic surgeon, and this plastic surgeon discovered that some of his patients, when they would have a procedure, would change their entire personality. Like, say they got a nose job and now they're the top salesman at their job and they make tons of sales, whereas before they were really struggling, didn't know how to make sales or anything like that, or even exude some confidence. Whereas there were other people who had the surgery, a similar or same surgery, and then they told the doctor, "You didn't do the surgery. I know you didn't do the surgery. I don't look any different." So there was these two very opposite interactions, where there was the one person who swears there wasn't a surgery done and nothing was changed, even though there clearly was facial reconstruction. And then there were people who had, they got the change that they wanted, essentially, and they saw the difference in their nose, per se. And then they saw themselves as, more handsome or more pretty or whatever you want to call it. And then they went on and achieved more success in other parts of their lives. So essentially, the plastic surgeon realized that he was actually changing the self-image of some of these people. And a lot of the time, surgery wasn't even necessary for you to change your self-image. So people that are like, "Oh, well, if I just had a different face, or if I just had longer hair, or if I just had, those might just be like psychological blocks that are holding you back. You don't necessarily need to go get surgery or a new wardrobe or whatever it is to make yourself feel more confident. But the self-image is flexible, and we can change it in ways that, previously we didn't understand that. We just kind of thought self-image was fixed, Whenever I started reading this book, I very much classified as an anxious person, not knowing what I was doing, not smart enough, not good enough, overall subpar to the people I grew up with. I very much just kind of decided okay, well, everyone's going off to school and I unfortunately have to work to be able to pay for that schooling, whereas a lot of them kind of had a lot of that taken care of, or at least had parents who would co-sign for them. So there's a lot of beating myself up in those years. But whenever I discovered this book and realized that we can change our self-image, it just changed everything. So there was a line in here I wanted to read. Let me see if I can conjure it up. It was highlighted, so. The self-image is the key to human personality and human behavior. Change the self-image and you change the personality and the behavior. But more than this, the self-image sets the boundaries of an individual's accomplishments. It defines what you can and cannot do. Expand the self-image and you expand the area of the possible. So whenever I was in high school and my boyfriend told me that I could not do a YouTube channel, I took that as verbatim and made that a part of my self-image. I could never be a YouTuber. I could never talk to a camera without feeling silly or being worried about what people say and they might doubt me. Or they might say some really awful things in the comments, which I'm sure they will because that's just how internet trolls work. But our self-image is made up of a lot of things, you know, like growing up, I was very much called skinny mini. And so whenever I started to gain weight, I thought that, oh no, if I'm not skinny, then I'm losing my worth as a person. I'm not who they say I am. You know, growing up, I was always told that I wasn't good at math. And so I kind of internalized, like, I'm not great at math. I'm never going to be good at math. Math's always going to be hard for me. And whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So whenever, and especially like as a young adult or youth, it's very easy to absorb these things that other people say about us. Like my boyfriend telling me that I could not do a YouTube channel because I'm too sensitive and wouldn't be able to handle it. You know, and I grew up with many people in my life like that. And at the time, I believed that I was too sensitive. So it did become true. Growing up, my sister would always tell me that I was too sensitive. And I used to think that I was a crybaby or like a multitude of like negative names about how I handled things. When in reality, my sensitivity now is my strength. Like, can you imagine me doing meditations and not being sensitive to people's feelings and the baggage that they carry into these places? No, like my sensitivity is such a strength. It's what allows me to connect with people, and it allows me to channel messages of healing to other people because I know how it feels to be put down, especially by people who love you or you think love you. So all I'm saying is the self-image is something that is continuously, it can be fixed for some people where people are like, no, that's just who I am and I'm not going to change. I'm sure we know some people like that. That's just who I am. You're just going to have to put up with it. I'm just mean, you know, and everybody else around them is supposed to just like wiggle around and, you know, bend so that person can continue to be their fixed self-image. Whereas there's other people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry that I made the room feel that way. I'm going to work on myself and not do that anymore. And not that you have to change yourself for everybody else, but you change yourself for you. You change yourself because it makes you a better person. It makes you a more loving person. It makes you more of an accepting person. And also it's just like relinquishing control, because people who are like, well, that's just who I am. That's a form of control. You're trying to control the situation and make other people change because you refuse to. And it's important to continuously embrace change, because that's the only thing that's certain about life, is that change is inevitable. So we can stay stuck in our ways and stay cranky and get irritated when people don't act exactly how we want them to. Or we can just be flexible and realize that that has nothing to do with us. That is their deal, not ours. It's very easy to cling on to other people's reactions, be like, well, they didn't react how I wanted to, so now I'm upset. And the reality is like, no, you're upset because you chose to be upset. And emotions are complicated, and yeah, people can hurt our feelings. But what it comes down to is like, you have to take control of how you feel, and you have to be responsible for regulating your own emotions, even when it sucks. Like, I remember losing a lot of my friends after high school, and it was honestly traumatizing, because it just felt like one day I just wasn't in the group anymore. And I'm sure it wasn't really like that. It's hard to remember all of the inner details, but I'm not innocent in all of it. I admit that. But it felt like everybody just was like collectively decided, okay, we're gonna continue the group without her. And that was painful. But I started to realize that we were growing in different ways, and that just wasn't going to continue how it had continued in that way, which is fine. Like, I think back and how different my life would be if things would have stayed exactly the same. And it wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't be as strong as I am now. Like, gosh, I sometimes think about past Taylor and how insecure and how hurt and lost and mean she was, because like hurt people, and that's very much where I was in that part of my life. And I felt like I lunged out at people because I had so much anguish in my little heart that I just didn't know how to express it in a healthy way. So yeah, if you're looking for a good way to get started, the psycho-cybernetics book is really good. It sounds much more complicated than it actually is. It gives you little like exercises and things in here to work on your self-image. And it's been probably 10 years since I've actually reread this book, but I can read this front part. Discovery of the self-image represents a breakthrough in psychology in the field of creative personality. The significance of the self-image has been recognized for more than a decade, yet there has been little written about it. Curiously enough, this is not because self-image psychology has not worked, but because it has worked so amazingly well. As one of my colleagues expressed it, I am reluctant to publish my findings, especially the lay public, because if I presented some of my case histories and described the rather amazing, spectacular improvements in personality, I would be accused of exaggerating or trying to start a cult, or both. I too felt the same sort of reluctancy. Any book I might write on the subject would be sure to be regarded as somewhat unorthodox by some of my colleagues for several reasons. In the first place, it is somewhat unorthodox for a plastic surgeon to write a book on psychology. In the second place, it will probably be regarded in some quarters as even more unorthodox to go outside the tight little dogma, the closed system of the science of psychology, and seek answers concerning human behavior in the field of psychics, physics, anatomy, and the new science of cybernetics. My answer is that any good plastic surgeon is and must be a psychologist, whether he would have it so or not. When you change a man's face, you almost inevitably change his future, change his physical image, and nearly always you change the man, his personality, his behaviors, and sometimes even his basic talents and abilities. Definitely recommend this book. It was $8 when I bought it. Might be more. I don't know if it's in print anymore. Check out thrifted books. Definitely worth a read. This is on psycho-cybernetics. And as always, wherever life takes you, grow.